The Mayans, Part 1. Okay, who are the Mayans? Well, don't flip out. They are an early Mesoamerican civilization, like very early. The Mayan people lived here, in the Yucatan Peninsula, in present day Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. So this is in Central America. The Mayan people lived in 2600 BCE. Uh, in other terms, that's over 4,000 years ago. So we're talking about a time period way before European colonization. They are a distinct and large cultural group from that time period. So, what are humanity's three basic needs? Food, clothing, and shelter. And every cultural group addresses these needs in different ways. In part one, we'll look at how those three basic needs are met in Mayan culture. Food. Mayan food. Farmers. The Mayans grew crops. One of their most important was corn or maize. Corn was the most common and essential part of the Mayan diet. You can look right here. Here are some actual statues, carvings showing people holding corn. I believe there's actually gods showing for a good harvest, showing how important corn is that it shows up in their artwork. We're going to check out a quick video here about Mayans and their agriculture.
In pre-industrial times, that meant you needed good farmers. In addition to swidden or shifting agriculture, the Maya also practiced intensive cultivation of crops such as maize, sunflower, cotton, chilies, chocolate, and vanilla using irrigation. They domesticated dogs and ducks and penned up wild turkeys and deer. Is agriculture science, though? It definitely encompasses lots of knowledge work, including crop improvement and the management of large-scale production systems involving canals and multiple harvests. In fact, historians are only today coming to understand just how densely populated the Mayan world was. Central America is tropical,
So he goes on to explain that as we have discovered more about the Mayans, we are learning that there were actually even more Mayans living in these city states than we ever knew before. So their massive amount of food production is very, very impressive. If you are interested in learning more about Mayan science and their agriculture, I recommend checking out the full length of this video. So here are your examples: maize, sunflowers, cotton, chilies, chocolate, vanilla, a lot of things you should be familiar with, things that are being used to help promote their society. They also talked about how they domesticated dogs and ducks, and then they were penning turkeys and deer, which means that they were harvesting farm animals as well to help support these large city populations. Let's look at clothing. Clothing says a lot about social structure. Now remember, this is Central America. This is a hot climate, so light clothing. Depending on your job rank, your clothing is going to differ. For example, a high priest is going to dress different than, say, a farmer. Here's an example of what clothing looked like for a high priest. Actually, this is a lord or ruler right here. So very intricate dress, very colorful, very bright. Definitely utilizing that cotton that they are growing in their own way. So here's a picture here that shows some of the examples of Mayan clothing, and you can see how it becomes much more intricate in some of these designs depending on what their job is or their rank. These are to be more of your farmer right here. Here's some for men and for women. You can see that for here's another ruler. These are warriors right here, and the clothing becomes more intricate and much more design focused the higher your rank is. So, the higher your rank, the more intricate or expressive your clothing is going to be. So, here's an example of a Mayan priest and a warrior in this very, very decorative, very intricate clothing. Lastly, let's look at shelter. The Mayans lived in city states. So there were multiple great Mayan stone cities. And here are just some examples of those stone cities. Surrounding the city, though, was the rich farmland that supported the city's inner residents. So farmers support the city life. The majority of Mayan people would have been farmers who lived on the outskirts of these major cities. Probably they visited, they did not live there full time. It takes a lot of food to support a city, so farmers would need to work hard to keep up with the constant demand. Life in the city. The cities would have been home to the Mayan government and religious leaders. This would be where the stores and shops were located. It would be the epicenter of Mayan culture. This is where things were happening. And in part two, we'll discuss more of what was going on specifically in Mayan cities.